All right, so we'll get back into talking about the Renaissance. One of the things that we have to look at to understand how the ideas of the Renaissance actually, one, got there, and two, spread throughout Europe is trade and commerce. So, what I wanted to start off with is this pretty cool website that I used to use when I was working for DNR in Sandusky and Cleveland. This is called Marine Traffic. Okay, you can go to this website and you can actually look at all of the vessels that are out within the world. Okay, you can see that if you come down here, there are about 209,000 vessels that were tracked within the last 24 hours. So here we are sitting in a quarantine aspect here in the United States, and pretty much for I would say a lot of the world. Um, but yet, look how many vessels are transversing the Pacific, the Atlantic, and look at this trade route right here through from India and Thailand area all the way down underneath the Cape of Good Horn in Africa and then up into here. You can see the amount of vessels that are out there. Now the cool thing about this is that we can actually zoom in here and we can go to the area that the Renaissance was occurring, and you can see even at this moment all of the ships, the vessels that are within the Mediterranean. Now you can see here is Alexandria. You got Cairo. This is a major move of vessels through here, and you can see how you've got here, and they're moving through that way. Okay. The other cool thing about this is that erase that you can actually click on these ships and see what their name is, where their destination is, and a lot of times they give you pictures of them also. Um, you can see their course, not their court, their draught, which means how deep they are sailing, like the ship itself. Is it like fully loaded or not? Where it came from, and where it's going. And you can see when it left, when the estimated arrival time is. You've got a picture of it. You got their status. It's pretty. You can see their name, and that they are an oil or chemical tanker. Um, Here is. We'll come down here. Here is the Suez Canal. You can come in here and see that this is a cargo vessel. We need full access for that. Sorry, don't have that. Not gonna give it to me, is it? So here's another one that we can look at. Where it came from, where it's going. It's a crude oil tanker. And you can see that this basically just started its journey and it will not be there until May 11th. We zoom out, we can scroll over here to the United States. And here, look, we can move actually into Ohio and we can see all of the shipping that's going on here within the Ohio River. You can see all the shipping that's going on Lake Erie at this moment. And you are able to, again, click on, it'll show a picture of what it is. It's a bulk carrier. When it was filled, so it came from Sault Ste. Marie, and where it's going to Montreal. See if I can find a ship that I have seen while I was out there. let's see here. I'm pretty sure. Let me see if this is it. So this is the Coast Guard Morro Bay. I have seen this vessel. It's parked in Cleveland, and you can see they obviously came from Cleveland, and they're going to Sault Ste. Marie, Canada. And their estimated time of arrival is a question mark. They left this morning about an hour and a half ago. You can see it's past tracks too. So if we come up to here, maybe pick this guy out. This is the Niagara. Go past track. And not load it. And load it. Oh, there it is. So you can see where um, the movement of this ship. And the reason I'm showing you guys this is because we look at this aspect of shipping, and if you've been up on the lake or been near um, the ocean, or Ohio River, Mississippi, whatever you want to look at, you've seen these large ships. Now, these large ships are obviously carrying something. They're carrying one, people on there, two, a good that would probably provide some type of service to somebody. And we look at this as, remember, we talked about how the spreading of ideas is and the spreading of culture. This is really what it is. You look at a lot of these ships, and a lot of these ships are not from, especially if you get over here, more onto the Atlantic or even the Pacific, they're not from the United States. The people that work on these ships are not from the United States, a lot of them. So they bring their culture and their ideas with them to their new area. And there's also another one that you can look at, that's called Flight uh, Tracker, Flight Aware. So you can see right here is the map. Block. I don't want them to know where I'm at. But these are all the flights right now that are within the United States. Look how heavily California is. Look how heavily Florida is, and the East Coast. And you can zoom in on this and find a flight. If you're interested within a flight, you can find out where they're going, their tail numbers. So this is going from Hot Springs, Virginia to Louisa, Virginia. So a very short flight, but you can see this is where they are at. This is where they came from. This is where they're going. It tells you their heading and everything. Who owns it, the tail number, the speed that they're at, the altitude that they're at. You can really get a lot of information from this stuff. And again, it shows you the the ability that we have to see, um, really what what we have as a trade aspect. And look, I mean, you can look at the entirety of the world with this. So here's one bigger plane that we can look at. Took off from Honolulu, Hawaii. It's a Qantas, and it's going to Melbourne, Australia. They are just within starting off. They've only had about an 1 hour, 8 minute time frame, and it's a 10-hour flight. Um, so it's pretty interesting to look at some of this stuff that really shows their route, their arrival. Um, uh, Sometimes you can, on some of these, like before, you could find their the amount of passengers they had on there too. But we go back to this aspect of um, Renaissance trade and commerce. No, they didn't have planes, but they did have boats. And boats were bringing ideas, and they had that Silk Road aspect. And all of this trade and commerce, remember we were talking about how it was pushing people to, not everybody, but some, to know and understand old thought processes. So when you really look at it, um, we come to this next slide where it's basically the flowering of culture because of trade and commerce. They brought new ideas and goods. One of the things that I was just reading about a painting was that, and when this was painted, a lot of Europeans didn't even know about citrus. Citrus wasn't something that normal people had during that point in time. So the painting had citrus painted in it. So there's always this question of, was the citrus that was painted in there just painted as like a show of power that they knew about citrus, or did they really have citrus in the room that they were painting it on it in? So this bustling economy, it creates these prosperous cities and new classes of people who had the wealth to support art and learning. This happens in America too, and I'm sure I'm boring you to death with this, but cities like Cleveland, Toledo, Cincinnati, Kansas City. You can go all the way across the United States of America, and these cities popped up because of shipping, rail, or railroads. Uh, the Intercontinental Railroad, when it was built, it was popping up city after city after city after city because these people, one, needed a place to stay, and two, now the railroad goes through. So now you have this chance to actually build upon that railroad. So a lot of our big cities came to be because of travelers and commerce and goods. And it was the same thing during this time. I know you guys have played Marco Polo, um, but his tales of him, sparked this interest in food, art, and goods like silk and spices, and they moved along these trade routes that linked Europe to Africa and to Asia. And cities like Venice and Genoa, Italy, were centrally located on these trade routes. They had to go through them, these cities, to get to other places, and it allowed them to become prosperous places where merchants and customers bought what they were bringing in. Other cities in Northern Europe, like Brussels, um, trade ships. They carried goods to England, Scandinavia, and Russia. Towns along the routes connected southern and northern Europe. Cologne and Mainz in Germany provided inns and other services for traveling merchants. People noticed that there was a need for a little town or a city to pop up because people were traveling through there, and that was a good spot for most people to stop, take a break while they're traveling. And while they're taking a break, they might trade some goods that they have. They might trade some ideas that they've heard. You have all these different aspects that come with this that really truly show to light the ideas of how humans during this time were passed along from one person to the other, and also disease and religion and so many other things that come within the passing of food, art, and other goods between peoples. So we look at currency during this time, all right? We've learned some crazy currency where the Spartans used iron rods because they were harder to steal. Then you get the currency of other Italian places, Athens, who used gold. You have the currency list places where they were just basically a bartering system. Hey, you've got 10 pounds of saffron seasoning, and I need 5 pounds of gold. Okay, so 10 pounds of saffron actually is equal to 5 pounds of gold, or something like that, where they're just trading that aspect back and forth, where there's no money really changing hands. There's no currency changing hands. It's just that good that's changing hands instead. Um, so the increase in trade led to this new kind of economy where during the Middle Ages people bartered or traded goods. Um, that's what I just was telling you guys about. By the Renaissance, though, people were using coins to buy merchandise, creating a money economy. And these coins came from many places, so many changers were needed to convert one type of currency into another. So if we go and look at um, currency conversion exchange, we'll go with that. If you right now look at, let's say, the United States dollar to the Canadian dollar. Okay, so one US dollar is actually 1.4 Canadian dollars. Okay, so that's currency exchange. Let's look at the Australian dollar. You go to the United States, or you go to Australia from the United States. You give them $1, they're going to give you back about $1.55. Okay, um, let's look at uh, where would it go? Let's go to the Japanese yen. There we go. So now you're looking at one United States dollar is about 107 Japanese yen. So you're getting like this difference. Now the U.S. dollar is not better than everything that's out there. If we go to the euro, we're close to being even, but the euro is still better. We've actually made some headway on that. So you can see though, imagine being this uh, merchant or this traveler during this time, um, and now you have coins, and you've got to see what that coin possibly is worth compared to the coins that you want that are more desirable for you. So you had to convert one type of currency into another, and this started back in the 1300s during the Renaissance, and it's still continuing today as we have different currencies through different countries. So as a result of all this currency trading, craftspeople, merchants, and bankers became way more important to society because craftspeople produced goods that merchants traded across Europe, but bankers were those ones that exchanged the currency and they loaned money to merchants and rulers and they financed their own businesses. So a lot of what modern business is coming that we have today comes out of the Renaissance aspect. Um, Merchants and bankers grew extremely rich using their wealth. They wanted to beautify the city that they were at. They had wealthy patrons that commissioned new buildings and art. And they also helped to find universities, and prosperous Renaissance cities grew into flourishing educational and cultural centers. So you've got all of this stuff that just the Renaissance itself is putting together. Now, um, we're not going to go to the Italian city states today, but I wanted to show you guys this. Okay, so what this is a map of the early trade routes, and we're looking at like the Mayans, the Incas, and so forth and so on, and your Native Americans that were here in the United States. So you can look at it. Okay, you have these early trade routes throughout the U.S. where you can see that they valued water. Okay, so following the Ohio, following the Mississippi. Okay, you're following the Mississippi going up. All right. I forget what river this is here, but they're following this river. This river goes to this is I think Roanoke area. Getting down to here where you have all of these things, the aspects of the Gulf of Mexico, but you can see what they were bringing with them. Okay, so coming from the the coastal areas, you have shells. Okay, you have copper, quartz, sandstone. You can see copper's up here, pipestone, buffalo. You can see what they're trying to bring, what they're trading in itself. Now, if we scroll out or zoom out a little bit, you can see down here where um, you're getting salt from the ocean, cotton, obsidian, silver, cacao, okay, jade, rubber. You have all of these things that we're looking, and these trade routes were huge, um, because Look at the interconnection and intertwining of these trade routes. Okay, just within the Mexican area, Central America, Guatemala, Honduras, Belize, El Salvador, so forth and so on. Look at all of the all of the things that would be traded between this area. Okay, so if somebody has jade here and they want silver from up here, look at the trade route. They have a trade route that more than likely came here to Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital, and they were able to trade that aspect. Okay, so even within the areas of Central America, South America, and North America during this time, people were trading, and trading the ideas and goods that they needed. No, they weren't a currency aspect here in the United and the Americas like they were in the in Italy and Europe. But at the same time, the trade that they were doing was the same aspect of uh, the trade that the Renaissance people were performing. Okay, um, I don't think I have anything else for today. I will try and we're gonna put together maybe some time on Wednesday for you guys to come together, um, and we can discuss some stuff that I kind of want you guys to do with the Renaissance itself. Um, Something fun possibly to do again, like we tried to discuss before. I will pose a question from uh, this video that probably deals with trade and commerce and stuff like that. So make sure you watch this video. If you have gotten to this point, you've watched it. If not, you've zoomed forward um, and answer the question for me. Um, so if you have nothing, I have nothing left, and I will talk to you guys um, Wednesday. Maybe tomorrow I will go over the Italian city states, but Wednesday. And I play something in your classwork also for the journal. Okay, so I'll talk to you guys later.